It's week 3 of the NFL regular season, and we've got some really good games to talk about this episode, so let's get right into that right after this intro. Welcome back to podcast number 69 of Sports Talk with JWock. And today we're going to be doing a bit of a different episode where I'm going to be uploading a little bit earlier on in the week. So this should come out to you on Thursday. Basically, I wanted to get this video out before the NFL week began, basically, since there's games played on Thursday. So I just wanted to kind of give my opinions on how I thought each game was going to go. If you guys follow me on Instagram, or you can check out me on Facebook as well, you just have to search my name, Jonah Walkenfoos. I actually post my weekly picks for the NFL. I've done it since week 1 so far. I also do college football picks, so make sure to follow me on both Instagram and Facebook if you want to get updates on that, and just for when episodes come out so you don't miss a single episode. But hopefully we also will upload a video later on Saturday as well, since we're still doing the NBA Mount Rushmore series. Hopefully that video comes out on Saturday, and I'll keep you updated on that. Just make sure to stay tuned on Instagram and or Facebook. But anyways, let's get right into the week 3 picks. This is going to be a shorter video because some of these games I feel like are not really worth talking about for too long. But let's get right into it, where we have the Dolphins versus Bills heading or facing against each other on Thursday night, where I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game. This is going to be a pretty easy game. They're going to be in Buffalo. Buffalo's looked really good all year long, and Miami looks like they could be one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL so far. So I'm going to take the Bills, and I think this could be a game that may not be worth watching after the second quarter. Next up, let's get into the Sunday games, Sunday morning specifically, where we have the Bengals going to Minnesota. I think this is going to be an interesting game. Both teams are without their starting quarterbacks, so it's going to be the battle of the backups. So Jake Browning, I think is what his name is, for the Bengals. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then for the Vikings, it's Carson Wentz. I'm actually going to predict the Bengals are going to win this. I think the Bengals just still have really good offensive weapons to where it's, and I don't know, the Bengals just seem pretty good even if they didn't have Joe Burrow. Compared to the Vikings, where I know Carson Wentz is a solid backup quarterback. They have great weapons. But now that we've heard, I believe, Aaron Jones is going to be placed on IR, that's a big loss for the Vikings offense. And I just think the Bengals are going to keep rolling and go up to 3-0. Next up, we have the Houston Texans going to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Houston Texans have had a very rough start, starting 0-2. They just lost on Monday to the Buccaneers, to a close game where Baker Mayfield basically took over the fourth quarter. But along with the Jaguars, which I also believe they are 0-2, if I'm not mistaken. So if you ask me, I'm looking at this going, hey, it's the battle of who's going to win their first game. And in my opinion, I think this is going to go to the Texans. I think CJ Stroud's going to get it done. I think this Texans team, the fact that they were able to keep it close with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, shows me that their defense is good enough to get the job done. And this Jaguars team has way too many question marks. They choked that that final game against the Bengals last week, even with Joe Burrow being out majority of the game. So I think this is going to go towards the Texans for the Texans win. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts going to Tennessee to play the Titans. Rookie Cam Ward has shown some really good flashes. He really hasn't been bad. I just feel like he doesn't have the greatest team. And in my opinion, I think the Colts are going to keep riding. Indiana Jones, I love that nickname, by the way. I think he's going to keep rolling. I think he's going to lead the Colts to a 3-0 start, which, by the way, this Colts offense looks good. They played against the Broncos last week. Unfortunately, the Broncos lost, but this Colts team caught me by surprise. They have a really solid offense. Imagine if they had a quarterback that was young and that could really develop into this offense. The Colts could be really solid soon. But I think the Colts are going to win too. Next up, we have the Raiders versus Commanders. Another interesting matchup where the Raiders really haven't looked the greatest, but they haven't looked horrible. It's been a weird situation for the Raiders. You can't really tell if they're going to be good or not this year. Sorry, that was a weird stutter. But anyways, you can't tell if they're going to be good or not this year, especially with Geno Smith as their quarterback. And then you got the Commanders where Jaden Daniels, his playing, like, is he going to play this week? I mean, it's kind of up in the air. It seems like he's a day-to-day injury with that knee. So that's going to be something to look out for, along with Austin Eckler being out for the rest of the year due to a tore Achilles, unfortunately. So that's a tough loss for the Commanders. I still think the Commanders are going to win. They're at home. The Raiders just have a lot of question marks, and I still think this Commanders defense specifically is very solid still. Next up, we have the Rams versus Eagles, where both teams, I believe, are undefeated. And I think the Eagles are going to pull it off. They're at home. The Eagles won the Super Bowl last year for a reason. They look like they're going to be a team that could potentially make the Super Bowl again, and I think they're going to win this game against the LA Rams. Next up, we have the Falcons versus Panthers. This is a game I don't have to talk much about because I think the Falcons are going to win this game, and I don't think it's going to be close. Next up, we have the Steelers and Patriots, where this could be an interesting game. The Patriots also one of those teams kind of like the Raiders where it's like you can't tell if they're good or bad. The Patriots lost to the Raiders week 1 and then barely beat the Dolphins week 2. So therefore, I'm going to give the win to the Steelers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to get it done. And I still think there's just too many question marks with the Patriots. Is Gonzalez going to be able to play at DB for the Patriots this week? He may or may not. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we have the Packers going to Cleveland to play the Browns. This is going to be a blowout, in my opinion. I think the Packers are going to win this one by a lot. Next up, we have the Jets and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Jets are going to be, I believe, without Justin Fields due to that concussion. I'm going to give this to the Buccaneers. They're going to be 3-0. They look like a very solid team and a dark horse team to potentially make the Super Bowl. Next up, we have my Denver Broncos going against the Chargers. The Broncos had a very unfortunate loss last week to the Colts due to that field goal, along with just a lot of little mistakes that they made that ended up becoming a big problem for them. I'm going to pick against my team. I'm going to say the Chargers win. So if any of you guys think this podcast is biased, this proves it's not, because I think the Chargers will win this. The Chargers have looked really solid to start this season off, and the Broncos just have too many question marks, especially early on in the season. This could be a concern going on to the future, but overall I do think the Chargers will win this game and go up to 3-0 to really solidify that lead in the AFC West. Next up, we have the Saints versus Seahawks. Seattle's at home. They're going to win this game. I don't think there's any question marks about that. Next up, we have the Cowboys going to Chicago to play the Bears. This could be a very close game. There's a lot of teams so far that I've kind of not been able to determine if a team's good or not. The Bears, in my opinion, don't look great. Caleb Williams still has many issues and many things he needs to work on if he wants to become a good quarterback and lead this Bears to becoming a good team. And then with the Cowboys, it's like they played really solid against the Eagles in week 1, but then they played against the Giants, and it's like they were going head-to-head with each other. But it was like, are any of these teams good? Like, who knows what was going on? I do think the Cowboys are going to win this game, even though they're in Chicago. I think this Cowboys team has they've showed me a little more promise than what the Bears have shown me so far. So I think I'm going to predict that the Cowboys will win this game. Next up, we have the Cardinals going to San Francisco to play the 49ers. While I know Brock Purdy's going to be out for multiple weeks still, I still think the 49ers are going to win. The Cardinals almost just blew last week's game against the Panthers. They almost blew it. They were up by I think 20 plus points, and then they almost lost. They still ended up getting the win. They're still undefeated, but I think the 49ers are still going to win. I know Mac Jones is the quarterback, but who knows? Maybe he found a new home. Who knows? Next up, we have the Chiefs versus Giants. Russell Wilson most likely going to be the starter again. He had a pretty solid game until that final interception he threw. That was horrible. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game without a doubt. Shouldn't be any questions about that. And then the final game, this should be the Monday night game, where we're seeing a very, very fun matchup, a game that everybody should definitely watch if they can. The Detroit Lions are going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. This is going to be an interesting game where the Lions just had a statement win against the Bears, where I believe they won 52-21. So they put up 52 points against a solid Bears defense. I know they were without Jalen Johnson, so take it as you like it, or take it as you whatever. Anyways, they're going against the Ravens, who have looked good all year. I mean, I know they choked that lead late against the Bills to lose that game, and that's their one loss of the season, but this Ravens team just looks good. I know Derrick Henry has had fumbling issues these first 2 weeks, but this Ravens offense just looks unbelievable. Zay Flowers has been really taking another leap forward, which has been really good for them. They have really good weapons. I think Isaiah likely might be making his return, unless he made his return last week and I just completely forgot. But yeah, this Ravens team is looking solid. I'm actually going to predict that they win, but I think it's going to be a close battle all game long. But anyways, that's going to be the end of this episode. And like I said earlier, I hope on Saturday there can be another episode uploaded of part, I believe, 4 of the NBA Mount Rushmore, where we're going to be talking about, I believe, the Pacific Division, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning into podcast number 69 of Sports Talk with JWock. I'm going to put the picks up real quick right now just so you guys can kind of see it on paper. You could also check it out on Instagram and Facebook by the time you're watching this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning into podcast number 69. It's been real, and I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.